Good morning and welcome to the Public Service Commission of South Carolina. It is Thursday, June 20th at 10:45, and we are here in docket number 2023-70-G. I note that we have Commissioners Justin Williams, Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Carol Lee Williams, Commissioner Caston, and Chair Belser present in the hearing room. I note for the record that Vice Chair Powers was recused on the original case and is not present for this proceeding. Let me recognize our staff counsel, Ms. Clausen, to read the docket.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're here today in docket number 2023-70-G, Dominion Energy South Carolina, Inc.'s application for adjustments in its natural gas rate schedules and tariffs. This application included a request for a rate increase. We are here for oral argument on the question of Dominion Energy's request for commission approval of the changes to rate 34 and rate 36.
Thank you, Ms. Clausen. Let's take appearances from the parties. Who's here representing Dominion Energy South Carolina?
Good morning, Chair Belser and members of the commission. My name is Chad Burgess. I'm in-house corporate counsel for Dominion Energy South Carolina, and I'll be representing the company today.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Is there anyone here for Direct Energy Business Marketing, LLC?
Good morning, Chair Belser. Taylor Spear for Direct Energy Business Marketing, LLC.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Anyone for CMC Steel, South Carolina? No response. Texarkana Natural Gas Company and South Carolina Energy Users Committee? No response. Scana Energy Marketing, LLC, doing business as IGS Energy? No response. South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs? No response. Office of Regulatory Staff?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Ben Mustian on behalf of ORS.
Thank you, Mr. Mustian. We are here today because Dominion notified us that there was a mistake in 2 rate schedules, and we wanted to hear from you. So, Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Chair Belser. I'm going to go to the podium because I'm going to use the Elmo to show you some documents
Yes,
throughout
sir.
my presentation.
Feel free.
On behalf of Dominion Energy South Carolina, I want to thank the commission for scheduling this oral argument and providing the company with an opportunity to explain its filing and answer any questions that you may have. To begin with, I want to apologize. I'm sorry that we made a mistake in our rate schedule, specifically rate 34 and 36. And I'm sorry for causing inconvenience to the commission, to its staff, to ORS, and the other parties of record. And I'm also sorry for not doing a better job of explaining the situation in our April 11th letter. The error that we brought to your attention is indeed a Scrivener's error, but after reading the commission's notice of oral arguments, it became obvious to me that I had failed to properly explain the matter because you had concluded that it appeared that the company was attempting to charge a new rate, and that's not the case. That was my fault, and I'm going to correct that today. So thank you for extending grace and allowing me a second chance to explain this issue. I'm going to explain everything to you in detail, but before I do, there's a couple key takeaways I want to start with. Number one, the company is not attempting to establish a new rate. This is indeed a Scrivener's error. Number two, the company's rate design for rates 34 and 36 included a basic facilities charge and a demand charge. And in designing that rate, the company assumed that all of its rate 34 and 36 customers would be subject to a minimum charge that included both a BFC and a demand charge. And 3, we simply made an error in converting the math, that is the rate design, and translating that into words that are included on the rate schedule. So in short, the rate design is correct. It contemplated a minimum charge to have a BFC and a demand charge. The commission approved the rate design, but we simply failed to get the words right on the rate schedule. And to better explain this matter, I want to take you back to the beginning. Prior to filing the application in this matter, rate 34 did not have a basic facility charge. And I'm going to show you what I call the old rate 34. And I'll kind of move it up and down so you can see it. But this is the old rate 34. And you'll see highlighted here that in the old rate 34, there was a monthly demand charge. It was a 2-tier demand charge. There was no BFC for that. And then if you'll see here, when it comes down to the minimum charge shall be the demand charge as determined above. I'm going to set that to the side. I'm going to come back to that here in a second. When the company began preparing its rate case application, it conducted a fully allocated cost of service study to determine the embedded cost of serving the company's natural gas distribution customers, and that work was performed by a company witness, John Taylor. You may remember him from the rate case hearing. And Mr. Taylor also supported the rate design efforts by the company. And I'm going to take you to his testimony, and I'm going to also take you to his exhibits to show you that the company's rate design for the minimum charge included both a BFC and a demand charge. So what I'm showing you now is an exhibit that was attached to Mr. Taylor's testimony. That's identified as exhibit number JDT-3, and this became exhibit hearing number 9 in the record. And this is the company's rate design for rate 34. I've highlighted here a couple things that I wanted to bring your attention to. The first is you'll see an amount of $600. That's the basic facility charge that was included in the rate design. You'll also see a charge below that of $16, which represents the per decatherm charge that the company included in its rate design as well. Both the BFC and the demand charge, those are designed to recover the costs associated with the company's system that are incurred regardless of whether a customer uses any gas. So in other words, that's the minimum charge, both the BFC and the demand charge. And I also want to bring your attention to the billing determinants. There are 2 numbers that I've highlighted there. The first number is 567. That represents the annual customer count for rate 34. And also the number below that, 39,892, represents the maximum daily quantity, or the MDQ, of gas that those customers have informed the customer that they intend to use. So to summarize, when we designed rate 34, we assumed that all of our customers on this rate would indeed be charged a BFC, and they also would be charged based upon their MDQ, because that was the amount of gas that they told us that they were going to use. And all of that together represents the minimum charge. Now for rate 36, we did the same thing.
Mr. Burgess,
Yes, ma'am.
I think on that schedule, it's had the $600 and it was customer charge. But in the tariff, it's called base facilities charge.
It's the same.
They're the same thing.
I'm glad you brought that up. I noticed that too. It is the same thing. Yes, ma'am.
Just want to make sure.
You're
Thank
correct. Now for rate 36, we did the same thing. And this is the rate design for rate 36. Again, you'll see the billing determinants, a little bit different with the number of annual customers here, 396. Again, to your point, Chair Belzer, customer charge is basic facility charge here. That's $600. And then there's also a $16 per decatherm charge, which represents the charge per decatherm on the MDQ basis, the maximum daily quantity, which is the 535,241. That's the amount of gas that those customers have told us that they intend to use. So again, in designing rate 36, again, we assumed that all customers on this rate would be charged a BFC, and all customers would be charged based upon their MDQ for the month, which again results in the minimum charge being both the BFC and the demand charge. This is on the Elmo when it comes up on the screen there. This is a part of Mr. Taylor's Mr. Taylor's testimony from the rate case. And I'm just going to read it to you real quick here. The rates for rate 34 and 36 were set with the goal to recovery. I think that actually should be recover 75% of the demand and customer-related revenue requirement from the basic facility charge and demand charge, with the remaining recovered in a volumetric rate. Now, we don't expressly state in Mr. Taylor's testimony that the minimum charge consists of both a BFC and a demand charge, but that's what the rate design contemplated. Obviously, this level of granularity doesn't kind of bubble up to the surface when you're dealing with a multitude of issues in a rate case, but that was the effect of the rate design. But however, we do state that rate 34 and 35 were designed to recover 75% of demand from both the BFC and the demand charge, and that the BFC and the demand charge are not volumetric or dependent upon customer usage. So if the BFC and the demand charge...
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're talking about rate 34 and 36. I think I just heard you say 35.
I misspoke if I said 35. You're correct. 30,
Thank
34 and 36. There's no issue with rate 35 in this proceeding. If the BFC and the demand charge are not dependent upon customer usage and we don't recover them through the non-volumetric portion of the rate, then obviously the company's not recovering the full amount for which the rate was designed. This is why you have a minimum charge, and this is why the minimum charge is comprised of both the BFC and the demand charge. And lastly, I'm going to put the commission's order up here on the screen. This wasn't an issue in the rate case. However, I did want to point out that the commission did indeed approve the rate design that the company had offered up, and that's here in ordering provision number 8. You're not going to find in the order, I've looked, a discussion of rate design. Again, it just quite frankly wasn't an issue in the case. So now we've got to take that rate design and put it into a rate schedule. And this is where the company made its error in translating the math into words. So I'm going to walk you through kind of what went on related to that. Okay, I've put, when it comes back up, this is what I had on the screen earlier. This is I call it old rate 34. And under old rate 34, again, it just had a demand charge, and you see the minimum charge only consisted of a demand charge. And that makes sense. There was no basic facility charge under old rate 34, but when we redesigned rate 34, it now includes a basic facility charge. Now I'm going to put up the new rate 34. And that should look very familiar. The new rate 34 is very similar to old rate 34. And this is not coincidental. And I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit and give you an idea of kind of what goes on in the back office at Dominion Energy, South Carolina. So we had old rate 34 in effect. And whenever we begin drafting the new rate, we use the old rate as the template. So as we were drafting the new rate 34, we're going through the process of doing that. And you can see here we have a BFC and a demand charge for the rate. But when you get down to the minimum charge, you see where we committed an error, and that was we did not update the minimum demand charge that was spelled out on the old rate 34 onto the new one. This is where we should have included the words basic facility charge as part of the minimum charge. Now I'm going to turn to Commissioner Caston.
If I may.
Sure.
And I think I understand it, looking at what you had there. You simply referenced that section demand charge, but underneath it you had facilities and demand, correct?
When you're talking about the, I want to make sure I'm following you.
Would you put that back up? Do you mind?
Sure. So this is the new rate 34.
Where that sentence where you have the minimum charge, the monthly minimum charge shall be the demand charge as determined above.
Correct.
And the rate per month, the monthly demand charge, where you have that title, and underneath it you have basic facilities charge, basic facility charge and demand charge.
That is correct.
So in the minimum charge sentence down here, you didn't distinguish that it had the basic facility charge and demand charge, but in the thing above, it is there.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. In fact, when I was looking at this, given the fact that we have monthly demand charge and then there's a colon and then it says BFC and demand charge, we probably could have just put the word monthly in front of demand under the minimum charge to cover both the BFC and the demand charge. But for clarity purposes, the company would like to put the word basic facility charge in that sentence. But you have it correct.
All right, thank you.
Chair Belser, I have another question.
Commissioner Carolyn Williams?
Thank you. I'm looking at your letter and the exhibit attached to it from April 11th.
Mhm.
And there it says the energy charge is $11.02, 646. Why is that different from what you were showing us?
If you would just give me 1 minute to find my
Sure.
filing here.
I just noticed that the
Are you on
energy
rate
charge-
34, 36?
I'm on rate 34, which I
Okay.
think is what you were showing us.
That's correct. I'm showing you rate 34.
Okay. And it just looked like the energy charge was different than what you had on the Elmo.
This is 36. That's 34.
I'm looking.
Let me catch up with you 1 second.
No problem.
Look at the rate schedule. No, at the top. 36 versus the 34.
Commissioner Williams, you're right. I do see that difference, and I'm trying to reconcile that in my mind. So the document I'm showing you was filed on March the 31st. The one that we filed with our letter is April the 11th. It's possible we had a correction. I'm not 100% sure
Okay.
on that. I need to double check
Okay.
on that though.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. It's the cost of gas. The cost of gas gets adjusted on a monthly basis. So that's going to show up as far as like the differences. But for the purposes here today, I should have just stuck with what we had in our filing. I just grabbed the wrong tariff. So I apologize for that.
And I understand we're
but-
here about the words and the formatting,
Sure.
but I was curious about that
Yeah, there's a lot of
difference.
rate schedules flying around.
Right.
It's been, but thank you for bringing
Thank
that
you.
up. Okay, so that explains rate 34 as far as what the company did from a process standpoint. And now I'm going to talk to you about rate 36 and let you know what the company did there as well. So rate 36 did not exist prior to the gas rate case application in 2023. So we had to start fresh. But in starting fresh, what we did is we used rate 55 as the template to work from. And this is rate 55. And I'm just going to show you the words here. The minimum charge shall be the basic facilities charge as determined above. And by working from that template, when we carried it over to rate 36, this is rate 36, you'll see the language, the minimum charge shall be the basic facilities charge as determined above. So again, this was a Scrivener's error where we were using rate 55 as the base template to work from, and we simply failed to kind of bring that forward to reflect the realities of rate 36, which was the fact that the BFC and the demand charge was included in the rate design for that particular rate. So to recap, this truly is a Scrivener's error. It's not a new rate that the company is trying to employ here. We simply just didn't get the words right on the rate schedule when we translated the math from the rate design to the rate schedule, and we're trying to sync that up today, which contemplates exactly what the rate design was done to do, which was to include the BFC and the demand charge in the minimum charge. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any other questions. And again, I really do appreciate the commission giving us this opportunity to set the record straight and correct ourselves.
Commissioner Carolee Williams, you have a question?
I do. Thank you. The big question for me is, you just said it's a Scrivener's error. Were you charging based on what the way the tariffs read, or did you charge based on the way you intended them to read?
Sure. So there is, and let me get my notes here because I asked that same question to the company before I got here. The company, we only had, for rate 34, we only had 2 customers who had no usage. And when you have no usage, something's going on at that facility. We did charge them a BFC and a demand charge based upon the rate design that the company had presented and which was approved by the commission. So they did do that. And for that customer, there's actually two customers. One was final build, meaning they're no longer on the system, and we had to prorate that bill, and they were charged $499.34. The other customer, based upon their minimum charge, they were charged $1,750.90. So there were two customers who were charged based upon the rate design that I just showed y'all. As far as rate 36, there was one customer who had no usage, and again, that customer was charged based upon the BFC and the demand charge as the minimum charge.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Caston?
thank you. And Mr. Burgess, I think on the OMO you showed relative to rate 34, I guess the testimony of the witness that, defined it.
Sure.
And I don't recall relative to rate 36, do you have something similar?
Yeah,
relative to that?
We don't. That's the only piece in the testimony where witness Taylor talked about rate 34 and 36, specifically the BFC and the demand charge, and explaining that through that non-volumetric rate, the company had designed the rate to recover 75% of the demand. Everything else gets recovered through the volumetric rate. And because it wasn't an issue, we didn't specifically kind of spell it out. The demand charge equals BFC the minimum charge equals BFC plus demand charge. But that's the only place that you will find that in the testimony where he discusses that. But implicit in that is the fact that the minimum charge includes both the BFC and a demand charge.
Okay, any exhibit or anything that showed that?
You have to kind of put all the pieces of the puzzle together. There's not one specific thing, like I said, where you can point to that. The rate design in the proof of revenue that I showed you earlier, which was attached to Mr. Taylor's testimony, that it's there, and it just isn't teased out, if you will, in the exact words like I'm articulating here today to the commission.
I understand. It's always the little things, isn't it?
This was a detail, and details matter, and unfortunately, we missed it.
I understand. Thank you.
Commissioner Justin Williams?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Attorney Burgess, just want to first thank you for your approach to this. Everyone makes mistakes, no harm, no foul. To my knowledge, there are no knives out, so everyone should leave here in good health. Understand everything that you said. I'm not concerned about it at all. The only question I have is, moving forward, is there any plan to make sure something like this doesn't happen again? I'm sure it won't happen in this way, the same way in the future, but maybe in other situations where something like this, a scrivener area, if you will, or the words not lining up with the math, or the math not lining up with the words. Can you give us any reassurances that there's a method in place to maybe do some quality control, quality assurance?
Sure. Number one, thank you for what you just said about no knives out. I did feel like a dead man walking in here today, and I'm by myself, as you can see. So everybody cut and run.
You know, I wasn't going to bring that up, but someone definitely sent you to swallow the bullet or fall on the knife, if you will. So I noticed that. I mean, I thought you guys were a team.
Yeah, well, we are. I don't want to. We are a team. But I was the author of the letter. I was the one who signed the letter. That's completely on me, so no need to blame anybody else. I can tell you, for me, the biggest lessons I learned in life are through failure, and this is a failure. So obviously, when I'm reading rate schedules, probably one of the first things I want to go to is read that minimum charge line on whatever rate schedule is and make sure and ask the rate department that is correct. The rate department, they are the ones who go through the rate schedules and design them and write them out. And I have no doubt, I've talked to the department manager of the rate schedules, and there are quality control matters that are going to be tended to going forward to make sure. I can't guarantee without 100%. There's as I just said early in the presentation, there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to a rate case, but we will do our best to ensure that we do not have another mistake like this for sure.
Thank you, and I appreciate your demonstration of accountability. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Thomas?
Thank you. I believe I understand. So there were a total of 3 customers that were overcharged, and that's all.
Well, I want to be clear, they were not overcharged. There were 3 customers who we applied the minimum charge to, and we charged them a minimum charge that included both the BFC and the demand charge, which is what was contemplated in the rate design. Now, we recognize when customers are reading our rate schedules, they don't go to the commission's file and start rummaging through rate design exhibits. They read the rate schedule. The correct rate was applied to them. It won't match up what's in the tariff just because of the language issue that I mentioned earlier.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Mr. Burgess.
Good morning.
Mr. Burgess, believe me, I understand when mistakes happen. I've made enough using prior orders or pleadings for templates, and things may not get changed correctly. And even since I've been here at the commission, we've been advised that we've had errors that need to be corrected as well. But I reckon my question is, of course, the tariff is akin to a contract, is it not?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And when there are mistakes in the contract, are they not most strictly construed against the who drafted it, the party that drafted it?
I think the party that drafts the contract, the language, to the extent that there's some ambiguity, it will be construed against the drafter for sure.
So, and I understand that the rate itself was approved, but I do have a little concern about these 3 customers. Is there any remuneration going to be made to these customers?
As far as I know, none of those customers had any issue with paying the minimum charge.
Well, does that make it right?
So, certainly don't know that in and of itself it makes it right, but also I don't know that the company was wrong either in applying the minimum charge in the way they did, because that was always the intent of the rate design, to recover that minimum charge.
Okay.
Certainly, if the commission thinks that we've stepped out of bounds and we need to go sit down with those 3 customers and correct things, we will absolutely do that. But as I stand here today, I haven't had that conversation with the company, but we do believe that they were charged appropriately under the rate design that was approved by the commission.
And the rates themselves were approved. It's just the application of the minimum charge, and I certainly understand the mistake. And I'm not trying to beat up on the company. I'm just trying to do what's right.
Oh, I understand.
Here. And anyway, thank you, sir. Commissioner Caston, you got another question?
Well, along the lines Chair Belzer mentioned, and certainly I'm not going to tell you how to do your job or what to do, how to do it. But I think the point she makes, whether it be goodwill or just mea culpa, personally, I just don't think you can ever go wrong by going the extra mile to do the right thing. They may be so enamored with you, they say, nah, keep it. But just something to ponder and consider.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Caston. I hear both you and Chair Belzer loud and clear, and when I leave here today, I will definitely go have a conversation with the company about that.
And those amounts you gave us, that's the total. That's not like different months, is it?
That's correct. It's just,
Okay.
it's that was the total. I'm looking at my notes here. That was the total that they were charged.
It's not gonna be like 6 months times those numbers.
I don't believe so. I
Okay.
do not believe so.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anything further for Mr. Burgess? Commissioner Justin Williams?
Yes, ma'am. And I really do not want to belabor this point, but I want to make sure that I am not confused. When I listen to your presentation and look at the exhibits that you placed on the Elmo, I don't see where there was a overcharge. I don't hear you saying there was a overcharge. Has anyone accused you of overcharging a customer?
The answer is no. No one has accused us of overcharging a customer, and you did hear correctly. We do not believe that there's been an overcharge because we've applied what we intended to be the correct minimum charge to those customers when they had no usage, which, as I showed you earlier, was set forth in the rate design that the company presented to the commission in this case.
And in the testimony of
Correct.
the witness offering that design.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And the only reason I'm trying to understand that, my belief is if there is overcharge, then there's no question about repayment.
If
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, I would. If there was an overcharge, I would be the first one to tell the company you have a duty and an obligation to return those monies to that customer that you overcharged.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you for that clarification.
Anything further? Thank you, Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Chair Belzer.
Appreciate it. Mr. Spear, do you have anything on behalf of Direct Energy Business Marketing?
Thank you, Chair Belser. The only thing that I would add is that Direct Energy Business Marketing does not oppose Dominion's request in this matter. Thank you. That concludes it.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Mr. Mustian, anything on behalf of ORS?
No, just more of a comment. I think there are probably very few people in the state who understand the sensitivity and the issues that this presents. I appreciate the commission's in-depth questions. I think that is impressive that we all kind of get what the underlying issue is. So, but with that said, I will note that we filed a letter on April 29th. We don't oppose the company's adjustment.
Thank you, Mr. Mustian. Anything further, commissioners? Anything further, Mr. Burgess?
No, ma'am. And again, we thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming out and providing such an in-depth and detailed explanation. We certainly appreciate it. With that, we will close these arguments and put this matter on a commission business agenda, and you will be notified very soon. Thank you. Everyone have a good day. We are adjourned.